Beloved child of the Most High, this is Archangel Michael speaking directly to your soul. I come bearing an urgent message that has been sealed in the heavenly archives until this divine appointment. Pay close attention, for what I am about to reveal has been hidden from human eyes for generations, and is now being disclosed only to those whose names are written in the book of life. The divine council has convened, and your name has been spoken in the halls of eternity. You have been chosen, yes, you specifically, to receive this transmission at precisely this moment. There are no coincidences in the kingdom of heaven. You're finding this message as evidence of divine orchestration. You have exactly 24 hours to absorb these revelations before the celestial window closes. The spiritual atmosphere is charged with prophetic energy, creating a temporary opening in the veil between realms. What I speak to you now comes directly from the throne room, where your destiny has been discussed among the elders and seraphim. Type Amen to activate the blessing of divine protection as you receive these words. The encryption of this message is breaking as you read it, a celestial encoding that can only be deciphered by those carrying the frequency of truth within their spirits. A plot has been uncovered in the heavenly realms. There are those who have conspired against your divine purpose, familiar spirits masquerading as light, who have been assigned to delay your breakthrough. For too long, these entities have manipulated circumstances in your life, creating patterns of frustration and seemingly immovable barriers. Their mission has been to prevent you from stepping into your full spiritual authority. But hear me clearly, their time is up. In exactly 2 hours from the moment you receive this message, a divine reversal begins in your favor. The angelic battalions under my command have been dispatched to dismantle every hidden scheme formed against you. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 1,444 days of divine protection. I see the tears you have shed in secret. I have collected them in heavenly vials. Not one prayer has gone unheard. Not one night of questioning has been overlooked. You have wondered if the God of heaven has forgotten you. Let me assure you, with the authority vested in me as the Prince of the heavenly hosts, you have never been forgotten. Your name is engraved on the palms of eternity. The enemies of your soul gathered behind closed doors, thinking their plans were hidden from divine sight. They whispered, "This one will never rise to their calling. We will ensure they remain in obscurity." Their confidence was their downfall. For while they plotted, the Ancient of Days was writing your vindication in the scrolls of destiny. Within the next 2 hours, watch for unusual signs in your environment. You may notice birds gathering in unexpected places, sudden shifts in temperature, or unusual patterns of light. These are not random occurrences, but confirmations that the spiritual atmosphere around you is being restructured. You are being repositioned for an unprecedented breakthrough. Those who betrayed your trust will be exposed by divine light. Names are being revealed in the spirit right now. Individuals who smiled in your presence while undermining your purpose behind your back. You don't need to confront them. Divine justice works silently but effectively. Your vindication comes not through conflict but through your elevation. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 2,222 divine vindications in your favor. A revelation about your spiritual lineage. You carry a dormant spiritual DNA that traces back to ancient prophetic bloodlines. This is why the enemy has fought so hard to keep you distracted and doubting. The activation of this spiritual inheritance threatens the kingdom of darkness because of the authority it carries. In the next 2 hours, you will begin feeling physical sensations that signal this activation, perhaps a warmth in your hands, a lightness in your chest, or a tingling sensation at the crown of your head. These are the physical manifestations of spiritual seals being broken and ancient gifts being restored. Do not fear these sensations. They are the recalibration of your spiritual senses to a higher frequency. The Council of Elders has reviewed your case in the courts of heaven. Those who falsely accused you, who questioned your integrity and motives, have been overruled by divine decree. The gavel has fallen in your favor. The verdict, complete restoration of everything that was stolen, with sevenfold return. I see scrolls being unfurled in the spirit right now. Contracts with your name written in a script that predates human language. These are covenant promises made before the foundations of the earth were laid. Divine assignments that you were created to fulfill. The enemy has tried to make you believe you were ordinary, that your existence was without significant purpose. This was a strategic deception to prevent the unfolding of these ancient scrolls. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 3,333 divine opportunities that will manifest in unexpected ways. Silence has been your weapon, though you didn't realize it. While others proclaimed their own greatness, you waited in the shadows, often feeling overlooked and forgotten. What appeared as delay was actually divine preparation. In your silence, heaven has been speaking volumes. Your restraint has not gone unnoticed by the divine counsel. Listen carefully. In exactly 2 hours from now, begin to watch for sudden connections with people who carry pieces of your destiny. These divine appointments have been orchestrated from the throne room. Some will come through unexpected messages, others through seemingly random encounters. Each carries a specific key that will unlock different chambers of your purpose. Be attentive to unusual coincidences. They are actually divine synchronicities. There has been a spirit of sabotage assigned specifically against your finances. Invisible barriers have been placed in the spiritual realm to prevent the flow of abundance that rightfully belongs to you. I am now commanding these barriers to be shattered by heavenly fire. The wealth that has been held back is being released with immediate effect. Expect to see evidence of this financial breakthrough within the next 2 hours to 2 days. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 4,444 financial breakthroughs that defy human explanation. Your dreams have been under attack. The vivid prophetic visions you once received have been clouded by a spirit of confusion. Tonight, as you sleep, the seal of clarity will be restored. Keep something to write with near your bed, for you will wake with precise instructions that must be documented. These instructions contain codes that will unlock specific doors in the coming season. The betrayal you experienced exactly 7 seasons ago was not what it appeared to be. What seemed to be human failure was actually a carefully orchestrated attack from the second heaven to derail your destiny. The individuals involved were being manipulated by forces they could not perceive. I am now breaking the cycle of unforgiveness that has kept you tethered to that event. Divine perspective is being granted to you. The ability to see beyond the human drama to the spiritual battle that was really taking place. For 2 hours following this revelation, you will have a special grace to forgive those who wounded you deepest. This is not just emotional healing, it is strategic spiritual warfare. Your forgiveness cuts the cords that have allowed the enemy access to certain areas of your life. As you release others, you yourself are being released into a new dimension of spiritual authority. A warning: in the next 24 hours, expect an unusual communication from someone from your past. This is a test. Their words will seem sincere, perhaps even prophetic, but there is hidden agenda. Respond with wisdom and measured words. Say less than you know. Divine discernment is being activated in your spirit right now to navigate this encounter successfully. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 5,555 divine discernments that will save you from hidden traps. The physical ailment that has persisted despite prayer and treatment has spiritual roots. There has been an assignment of infirmity sent to distract you from your purpose and drain your energy for spiritual advancement. I am now dispatching healing angels to address the spiritual cause behind the physical symptoms. Expect manifestation of this healing to begin within the next 2 hours and complete within 2 cycles of the moon. There is a book you are meant to write, sacred knowledge that has been deposited in your spirit over many seasons of testing. The enemy has planted doubts about your ability and authority to share this wisdom. I am now breaking the spirit of inadequacy that has silenced your voice. The words will flow with supernatural ease when you begin this project. Do not delay any longer. The timing is critical for those who are destined to receive these words. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 6,666 divine inspirations that will flow through your creative expressions. Your name has been mentioned in dark assemblies, spiritual gatherings where assignments are made against those who threaten the kingdom of darkness. Take this as confirmation of your importance in the divine strategy. They would not waste resources on one who poses no threat. But fear not these assignments, for my angelic armies have been positioned around you like a wall of fire. No weapon formed against you will prosper. In exactly 2 hours, there will be a shift in the spiritual atmosphere around your dwelling place. You may sense it as a lightness, a peace that defies explanation given your current circumstances. This is the manifestation of a new level of angelic protection being established. Some in your household may remark on the change without knowing its source. There are 3 specific individuals connected to your destiny who are currently being prepared to cross your path. Each carries a piece of the divine puzzle you are assembling. One brings wisdom from ancient paths, one carries provision for the journey ahead, and one holds keys to doors you've been unable to access alone. Be attentive to those who speak directly to your spirit rather than just your intellect in the coming days. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 7,777 divine connections that will accelerate your purpose. The recurring dream that has disturbed your sleep is not random. It contains encrypted messages about your calling. The symbols that appear pay special attention to bodies of water, specific numbers, and unusual colors, are keys to understanding territories you are being assigned to influence. I am removing the veil of confusion now. Clarity comes within the next sleep cycle. There has been a generational curse operating in your bloodline for 7 generations, manifesting as patterns of delay, disappointment, and discord in key relationships. By divine authority, I now sever these ancestral bonds. The cycle breaks with you. Watch for evidence of this breaking in the sudden resolution of persistent family conflicts within the next 2 hours to 2 weeks. Your tears have been collected in heavenly vials. Not one moment of suffering has been wasted. What the enemy meant for your destruction has been repurposed by divine alchemy into the very substance of your authority. The depth of your wounding corresponds precisely to the height of your calling. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 8,888 divine healings of your deepest wounds. In the courts of heaven, accusations have been made against you by the adversary. These spiritual legal claims, based on words spoken against you, and even your own negative declarations, have created barriers to your advancement. I have presented the blood evidence before the Ancient of Days, and these cases have been dismissed. The record is expunged. You have been legally cleared in the spiritual realm to move forward without hindrance. The unusual exhaustion you've been experiencing is not primarily physical, but spiritual. Your energy has been under attack because of the assignment on your life. I am now sealing your spiritual boundaries. No more unauthorized access to your energy field will be permitted. Expect a noticeable difference in your vitality within 2 hours of receiving this message. There is a sacred sound assigned to your spirit, a specific frequency that activates your highest calling. In moments of prayer or worship, when you feel a resonance deep within that defies description, you are touching this divine harmony. I am increasing your spiritual sensitivity to recognize and align with this sound. It will become a compass directing you to environments and connections that amplify your purpose. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 9,999 moments of divine resonance that will guide your path. A warning about your inner circle. Not everyone who celebrates your ascension is genuinely aligned with your purpose. Within the next 2 hours, pay attention to subtle inconsistencies in the words and actions of those closest to you. I am granting you supernatural discernment to distinguish between true allies and those who seek proximity only for personal advantage. This revelation may bring momentary pain, but will ultimately protect you from greater betrayal. The sacred assignment you began but did not complete 3 seasons ago must be revisited. What appeared to be a failure was actually a strategic delay. The soil of circumstance was not yet prepared to receive the seeds of that vision. Now the divine timing has aligned. When you return to this project, doors that were previously closed will open without effort. Your name is being spoken in heavenly places. The angels recognize the spiritual frequency of your calling. The opposition you faced is directly proportional to the threat your awakening poses to darkness. Stand firm in the knowledge that heaven's resources are allocated based on divine priority, and your assignment carries heaven's attention. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 11,111 angelic assistances in your divine assignment. The location where you currently reside has strategic spiritual significance. It is not accidental that you are there. Beneath the surface of ordinary appearance, there are spiritual gateways that your presence is affecting. Your prayers, even when they seem unanswered, are shifting territorial atmospheres. Continue to declare truth over your environment. The full impact of your presence will not be evident until the fullness of time, but spiritual mapping reveals your strategic positioning. For 2 hours after receiving this message, there will be an unusual receptivity in the spiritual atmosphere. Declarations made during this window will carry accelerated manifestation power. Choose your words with sacred intention. Speak not from present circumstances, but from the revelation of future certainties. Call forth those things which are not as though they were. A divine exchange is taking place in the spirit. Beauty for ashes, strength for fear, clarity for confusion. This supernatural transaction requires your conscious participation. Release what has been through declaration. I now release all disappointment, delay, and deception that has hindered my divine purpose. Then receive what is being given. I now receive divine acceleration, revelation, and restoration of everything stolen from my destiny. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 12,222 divine exchanges that will transform your circumstances. You have been under observation by both heavenly and dark spiritual forces. Your responses to recent tests have determined your readiness for the next level of responsibility. I bring good news. You have passed critical trials without even realizing you were being tested. Your instinctive choices, made from the authentic core of your character rather than performed righteousness, have qualified you for greater spiritual trust. The next 2 hours represent a divine window for petition. Requests made in this time frame will receive expedited attention in the courts of heaven. Be specific in your asking, aligning your desires with revealed purpose rather than temporary comfort or advancement. This is not a moment for small thinking, but for requests worthy of divine partnership. There has been a spirit of delay specifically assigned to hinder the relationships destined to form your covenant connections. I am now commanding that spirit to be bound and removed. Watch for sudden progress in relationships that have seemed mysteriously stalled. The divine timeline is being restored and accelerated to compensate for the enemy's interference. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 13,333 divine accelerations in your relational destiny. Your spiritual inheritance includes gifts that have laid dormant, suppressed by doubt and religious conditioning that taught you to diminish your light. I am now activating these latent abilities: heightened spiritual perception, discernment of spirits, unusual wisdom in solving complex problems, supernatural creativity, and authority to bring order to chaos. You will begin noticing these gifts operating with increasing frequency and precision in the next 2 hours to 2 weeks. There has been a cosmic legal case concerning the timing of your awakening. The adversary argued for delay, claiming you were not prepared for the responsibility of your calling. The divine counsel has ruled in your favor, determining that further delay would compromise critical alignments in the earthly realm. The acceleration begins now. Years of preparation will be compressed into months. Decades of impact will be expanded from years. The unusual physical sensations you've experienced recently, vibrations, rushes of heat or energy, sudden waves of emotion that seem disconnected from circumstances, these are not random. They are physical manifestations of spiritual seals being broken and dormant DNA being activated. Your very cellular structure is being recalibrated to carry higher frequencies of truth and power. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 14,444 physical alignments with your spiritual calling. A divine veil has protected certain aspects of your calling until this appointed time. What has been hidden is now being revealed because the strategic moment has arrived. In dreams and moments of stillness, you will receive downloads of information that seem beyond your natural knowledge. Trust these revelations. They are not imagination, but divine intelligence being deposited directly into your spirit. There is a specific sound in creation that responds to your authentic voice. When you speak from the core of your being, without performing or conforming to expectations, this resonance is activated. Creation itself recognizes and responds to this frequency. I am removing layers of artifice and fear that have muffled your true voice. Speak with the authority that has been assigned to you, and watch circumstances realign in response. The opposition you faced from unexpected sources, individuals you believed would support your advancement, this was permitted as a divine filtering system. Not everyone assigned to your beginning is qualified for your future. Some connections must be severed for your protection and their redirection. Trust the divine wisdom in these painful prunings. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 15,555 divine protections through strategic removals. In exactly 2 hours, a portal of revelation will open over your life. Information that has been sealed will become accessible to your understanding. Prepare to receive this knowledge by creating space for stillness. Minimize distractions and external input during this window. What you receive may come as concepts rather than words. Trust your spirit's ability to translate heavenly language into human understanding. There are scrolls in heaven with your spiritual lineage recorded in ancient script. These documents trace not your earthly bloodline, but your spiritual heritage. Those who carried similar assignments and authority throughout generations. Their mantles of wisdom and power are your inheritance, not by human right, but by divine assignment. I am releasing access to this spiritual DNA, which will manifest as innate understanding of matters you have never studied in the natural realm. The recurring symbol that has appeared in your awareness, in dreams and unexpected places, in seemingly random convergences, this is not coincidence, but divine communication. It marks places where the veil between realms is thin in your life, where heaven's perspective is more readily accessed. Pay attention to the circumstances surrounding these appearances. They contain keys to unlocking specific aspects of your calling. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 16,666 divine symbols that will guide your understanding. A spirit of sabotage has been targeting your closest relationships, creating misunderstandings and magnifying minor differences. This is strategic warfare against your destiny, as these connections form essential support structures for your assignment. I am now dismantling these operations of division. Expect surprising reconciliations and restored clarity in communication within the next 2 hours to 2 days. The creative projects you abandoned in disappointment must be revisited. What seemed like failure was actually premature timing. The divine convergence of readiness, both yours and your intended audience, is now established. Return to these expressions with new perspective. You will find that obstacles which once appeared insurmountable now dissolve with barely any resistance. Your physical environment contains hidden symbolism that reflects spiritual realities. The recurring challenges in specific locations or with particular types of circumstances are not random, but indicate territories requiring your spiritual authority. Rather than seeing these patterns as personal attacks, recognize them as assignments, places where your specific spiritual gifts are needed to establish divine order. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 17,777 territories influenced by your spiritual authority. The languages of heaven are being downloaded into your spirit. You may find yourself understanding concepts that transcend human vocabulary, sensing meanings behind words rather than just their surface definitions. This is the activation of supernatural comprehension, the ability to perceive truth beneath layers of distraction and deception. This gift will prove essential in the coming season of increased complexity and conflicting voices. For 2 hours following this message, Heaven's administration is particularly attentive to your declarations. This is a window of heightened spiritual leverage, where your aligned words carry multiplied creative power. Speak with precise intention about your divine assignment, the provision required, and the impact ordained. Angels are positioned to translate these declarations into earthly manifestations with unusual speed. There has been a coordinated attempt to distract you from your primary assignment through multiple simultaneous pressures, some appearing positive, others obviously negative. This strategic overwhelm was designed to fragment your focus and dilute your effectiveness. I am now establishing a shield of divine clarity around your perception. Distractions will become starkly obvious, making it easier to identify and eliminate interference with your core purpose. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 18,888 moments of divine clarity that will protect your purpose. The unusual weather patterns affecting your region are not disconnected from spiritual activities. Creation itself responds to both heavenly movements and dark operations. Pay attention to sudden shifts in natural elements as confirmations of spiritual discernment. When your insights align with these physical manifestations, you can trust you are perceiving accurately beyond the veil of visible reality. You have been given authority to break cycles that have persisted for generations. Patterns of limitation, dysfunction, and spiritual blindness. This mantle of responsibility requires both courage and wisdom. The declarations that will shatter these cycles must come from a place of compassion rather than condemnation, understanding the complex webs of causation while refusing to perpetuate their effects. You are both a carrier of truth and an agent of mercy in this assignment. Within the next 2 hours, write down every unrealized inspiration, incomplete project, and delayed dream that still resonates in your spirit. This physical documentation activates a spiritual accounting process. Heaven's resources will begin realigning to support the manifestation of visions that align with your divine blueprint. Not every idea will receive this acceleration. Only those germinated from eternal purpose rather than temporal ambition. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 19,999 divine resources realigned to your true purpose. The recurring number sequence you've been noticing is not random, but divine communication. Each number carries specific vibration and meaning in the spiritual realm. This repetition is confirmation that you are moving in alignment with heaven's timeline for your life. When you see these sequences, pause to acknowledge the divine affirmation and listen for any additional guidance being offered in that moment. There are individuals you have yet to meet who are essential to your divine assignment. They carry complementary gifts and perspectives that will complete what you have begun. Some have been searching for the wisdom you possess without knowing its source. I am orchestrating divine appointments that will seem coincidental, but are precisely arranged connections. Be attentive to unusual meetings where recognition occurs at a soul level rather than just intellectual interest. A warning: In the next 24 hours, you will encounter an opportunity that appears perfectly aligned with your stated goals, but carries hidden compromise. This is a test of your discernment and commitment to integrity over advancement. Declining this opportunity creates space for the true divine connection that will follow. The counterfeit always precedes the authentic in the economy of spiritual testing. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 21,111 divine discernments that will preserve your integrity. The work of your hands has been under specific attack. Projects delayed, creativity blocked, productivity undermined by mysterious obstacles. I am breaking these assignments of hindrance now. Your hands are being anointed with accelerated grace for completion. What would normally require months will manifest in weeks. What would take years will be accomplished in months. Divine efficiency is being released over every task connected to your purpose. There has been a veil over the full impact of your words and actions, a strategic hiding that protected your developing authority from premature exposure and attack. This concealment is now being selectively lifted. You will begin receiving unexpected confirmations of how your obedience has created ripple effects far beyond your awareness. Lives have been redirected, destinies intercepted, and bloodlines altered through divine encounters with the truth you carry. For 2 hours following this message, heaven's courts are particularly receptive to appeals regarding promises that appear to have gone unfulfilled. This is a window for divine review of seemingly abandoned cases. Present your petitions with both boldness and submission, reminding heaven of prophetic words and scriptural promises while surrendering to divine timing and method of fulfillment. This balanced approach activates both justice and mercy in the courts of heaven. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 22,222 divine fulfillments of prophetic promises. Your spiritual identity has been contested in heavenly places. The enemy has challenged your right to operate in certain realms of authority, citing past failures and current inconsistencies. I have presented the evidence of divine election, your name written in heavenly records before the foundation of the world. This legal victory secures your access to realms of influence previously blocked by accusation. Step confidently into territories that once seemed forbidden to your influence. The unusual exhaustion that has plagued you recently is not merely physical, but the result of spiritual warfare during sleep. Your dreams have been battlegrounds where significant victories have been won without your conscious awareness. I am now assigning increased protection over your sleep cycles. You will notice profound changes in the quality of your rest and a new vibrancy upon waking, beginning within the next 2 hours to 2 days. There are songs yet unsung through your life, expressions of divine truth that transcend intellectual understanding and resonate at the level of spirit. Whether or not you consider yourself musically inclined in the natural realm, these frequencies are encoded in your spiritual DNA. In moments of worship or creativity, allow unfamiliar melodies and unexpected phrases to emerge. These spontaneous expressions carry authority to shift atmospheres and break spiritual deadlocks. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 23,333 divine harmonies that will flow through your life. A divine reset has been authorized for your journey. Previous detours and delays will be compensated by supernatural acceleration. What the enemy meant for your discouragement will become the platform for your greatest advancement. This divine recalibration begins within 2 hours of receiving this message. You will notice synchronicities and convergences that defy logical explanation, doors opening simultaneously, resources arriving precisely when needed, connections forming without human orchestration. The persistent spiritual attack against your peace is evidence of the threat your awakening poses to darkness. The enemy would not waste resources on insignificant targets. Take courage in the very opposition you face. It is inverse confirmation of your importance in divine strategy. I am now establishing a perimeter of supernatural peace around your mind and emotions. This protection is not the absence of conflict, but immunity to its internal effects. There are ancient wisdom streams you are being granted access to, understanding that transcends current human knowledge in specific domains. This revelation will not come through normal learning channels, but through divine impartation during prayer, meditation, and even sleep. Keep a dedicated record of these insights. They contain solutions to problems that will emerge in your sphere of influence, answers prepared before the questions arise. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 24,444 divine revelations that will solve complex problems. The unusual resistance you've encountered when attempting to share certain aspects of your understanding, the sense of words failing or concepts becoming suddenly unclear, This has been permitted as protection, not punishment. Some revelations require secure environments and prepared hearts to be properly received. I am now giving you discernment to recognize divine timing and authorized audiences for different levels of truth you carry. This wisdom prevents both the casting of pearls before the unprepared and the withholding of light from those ready to receive. For the next 2 hours, there is an open heaven over your location, a special accessibility to divine perspective and provision. Use this window strategically for declarations, petitions, and spiritual mapping of your assignments. The boundaries between heaven and earth are temporarily thinned, allowing accelerated transmission of heavenly realities into earthly circumstances through your aligned cooperation. You have been called as a boundary breaker, one who crosses dividing lines to establish divine connections where separation has been accepted as normal. This assignment requires courage to challenge established patterns and wisdom to create proper foundations for new alignments. Not all boundaries should be eliminated. Some serve vital protective purposes. I am giving you supernatural discernment to distinguish between man-made barriers that restrict divine purposes and God-established boundaries that protect divine design. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 25,555 divine discernments between true and false boundaries. The recurring dream motif that has appeared through different seasons of your life contains encrypted guidance about your divine assignment. Pay particular attention to landscapes, structures, and journeys that repeat with variations. These symbolic representations reveal both territories of influence and strategies of engagement assigned to your unique spiritual authorization. I am removing veils of confusion that have obscured the interpretation of these night parables. There has been a spirit of premature disclosure operating against your purpose. Pressure to reveal what should remain hidden for a specific season, to speak when silence would better serve divine strategy. I am now establishing guards over your words and timing. You will feel a clear internal resistance when approached to share beyond divine authorization. Trust this restraint. It protects both you and the purposes you are stewarding. Your unusual sensitivity to spiritual atmospheres is not a liability, but a strategic gift. What others perceive as emotional inconsistency is actually a finely calibrated discernment system registering shifts in the unseen realm. I am refining this sensitivity and adding the complementary gift of interpretation. You will not only sense changes in spiritual conditions, but understand their sources and strategic implications. This combined gift will make you an essential early warning system in your sphere of influence. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 26,666 divine interpretations of spiritual atmospheres. In exactly 2 hours, begin a focused period of gratitude for promises yet unfulfilled. This counterintuitive practice activates a powerful spiritual principle. Thanksgiving before manifestation demonstrates the faith that pleases heaven and accelerates provision. Specifically acknowledge the precise outcomes you are awaiting, thanking the divine for their perfect completion as though already accomplished. This declaration of confidence in divine faithfulness removes final obstacles to manifestation. The opposition you face from religious structures and traditional authorities is confirmation of your boundary-breaking assignment. Established systems instinctively resist emerging revelation that challenges their familiar frameworks. Rather than becoming embittered by this resistance, recognize it as verification of your authentic calling. Not all who oppose you are motivated by darkness. Some simply cannot recognize new expressions of ancient truth. Maintain compassion while standing firmly in your authorization. There is a scroll in heaven with strategies specifically designed for your assignment in this season. I am releasing access to this divine intelligence through dreams, sudden inspirations, and synchronized confirmations. These strategies will not resemble conventional wisdom, but will produce results that defy normal expectations. Implementation will require both courage and precision. Follow these blueprints exactly, even when they contradict established practices in your sphere. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 27,777 divine strategies that will confound human wisdom. Your capacity for supernatural endurance is being increased. Where others would naturally falter under extended pressure, you will find reserves of strength that defy explanation. This is not merely psychological resilience, but spiritual empowerment, divine energy flowing through surrendered vessels. This endurance has been granted because your assignment includes territories requiring sustained engagement beyond normal human capacity. Rest remains essential but will yield greater restoration in shorter periods. For 2 hours following this message, there is special grace for breaking agreements made with fear, unworthiness, and limitation. These internal contracts, often formed during seasons of trauma or disappointment, have restricted your movement into fullness. Verbally renounce specific agreements you recognize. I break all agreement with the lie that I am unqualified for my calling. I cancel its authority over my choices and perceptions. Replace each broken agreement with truth. I now agree with heaven's declaration that I am fully equipped for every good work assigned to me. The unusual phenomena you've noticed in the natural elements around you, peculiar cloud formations, animals appearing at significant moments, unexpected natural alignments, these are not random but divine communication through creation itself. The book of nature supplements the written word, providing personalized confirmation of guidance received through other channels. I am increasing your sensitivity to read these signs accurately, neither dismissing them as coincidence nor assigning meaning beyond their intended message. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 28,888 divine confirmations through creation's testimony. There has been a divine containment around certain aspects of your gifting, a strategic limitation preventing premature exposure. This protective boundary is now being selectively removed according to heaven's perfect timing. You will notice sudden access to spiritual capabilities previously outside your reach, not through striving, but through simple availability to divine purposes. This is not an amplification of what was, but the unveiling of what has been present yet hidden, awaiting the appointed time of activation. The unusual synchronicities you've experienced, meaningful coincidences that defy statistical probability, these are glimpses of divine orchestration, normally hidden behind the veil of natural perception. I am granting you increased awareness of these synchronized moments as confirmations of your alignment with heaven's timeline. When multiple elements converge without human arrangement, pause to acknowledge divine fingerprints and listen for any instruction hidden within the convergence. Within the next 2 hours, you will receive clarity about a persistent question that has lingered in your spirit. This revelation may come through an unexpected source, a seemingly random piece of information that suddenly connects disparate elements into coherent understanding. This insight is not merely for your personal resolution, but contains keys that will unlock solutions for others facing similar uncertainties. Document this revelation with precision. Its significance extends beyond your immediate application. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 29,999 divine clarifications of complex spiritual questions. Your dreams have been territories of divine visitation and instruction, though recall has often been limited upon waking. I am now placing angels of remembrance to assist in the full retrieval of nocturnal revelations. Keep tools for documentation close during sleep cycles. Upon waking, before engaging with daily concerns, immediately record impressions, images, and conversations from the night season. Seemingly fragmented elements will reveal connected meaning when reviewed collectively over time. There are thresholds of authority you have approached but not yet crossed, believing additional preparation or qualification was required. I bring heaven's confirmation. You are fully authorized now to step into these advanced territories of spiritual influence. What appeared as barriers were actually testing points, determining genuine readiness through humility rather than credential. Your hesitation demonstrated the very character qualification necessary for responsible stewardship of greater authority. For 2 hours following this message, heaven's courts give special consideration to appeals regarding intergenerational promises, divine purposes spoken over family lines that remain partially or wholly unfulfilled. As you stand in representative capacity, acknowledging both the original promise and the obstructions that have delayed its fulfillment, ancient seals are broken. Dormant spiritual inheritances are activated, releasing acceleration that compensates for generational delay. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 30,000 divine accelerations of intergenerational promises. The physical objects that have appeared in your path at strategic moments, unexpected gifts, found items, peculiar discoveries that seem meaningful beyond explanation, these are not random but tangible markers of divine communication. Some serve as memorial stones, reminding you of specific revelations or interventions. Others function as prophetic symbols, foreshadowing aspects of your assignment not yet fully manifest. Gather these witnesses in a dedicated space where their collective testimony strengthens faith for complete fulfillment. There has been a divine protection over your reputation during vulnerable seasons of development and transition. Potentially damaging misunderstandings and misrepresentations have been supernaturally contained, prevented from spreading beyond specific boundaries. This covering was not to eliminate all opposition, which serves necessary refining purposes, but to preserve essential relational foundations for future assignments. The wisdom to distinguish between constructive resistance and destructive attack is now being increased in your discernment. Your capacity to perceive divine timing is being supernaturally heightened. You will find yourself knowing when to advance and when to wait with a certainty that transcends logical analysis. This discernment of kairos moments, strategic convergences of divine purpose and earthly readiness, is essential for your role in preparing environments and individuals for manifestations of heaven's agenda. Neither rushing ahead nor delaying obedience, you will move in the precise rhythm of divine orchestration. Remember, these revelations are not for casual distribution, but for strategic implementation. The enemy would distort and dilute their power through premature or indiscriminate sharing. Discern carefully those who are divinely positioned to receive specific aspects of what has been entrusted to you. Not all truth is for all people in all seasons. Wisdom matches message to readiness with divine precision. In exactly 2 hours from this divine transmission, a window of unprecedented favor opens over your life. Seemingly immovable obstacles will suddenly yield to persistent faith. Connections vital to your assignment will form with supernatural ease. Resources previously withheld will be released with perfect timing. This is not random blessing, but strategic provision for specific kingdom advancement. Steward these opportunities with wisdom and accountability, recognizing their purpose beyond personal benefit. The time has come for the full activation of your divine blueprint. All previous seasons, both victories and apparent failures, have prepared you for this pivotal moment of alignment with eternal purposes. Step forward with holy confidence, knowing you carry heaven's full authorization for the assignment inscribed in your spiritual DNA before time began. I stand with you, Michael, Archangel of the Most High God, with the full authority of the divine counsel backing every step of your obedience. Type Amen to receive the blessing of heaven's complete endorsement of your divine calling. The veil between realms thins further as I continue this sacred transmission. What I reveal now has been guarded by celestial seals, accessible only to those whose spiritual DNA resonates with divine truth. Your continued presence confirms your selection among the remnant chosen for such revelations. The divine counsel has granted an extension of this prophetic window specifically for you. There are deeper mysteries yet to be disclosed, revelations that will fundamentally alter your understanding of your position in the cosmic order. These are not merely words, but living transmission, encoding activation sequences into your spirit as you receive them. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 33,333 divine activations of dormant spiritual gifts. In the highest echelons of the heavenly realm, a conversation has taken place concerning your name. The Ancient of Days has reviewed the scroll of your destiny and issued a decree of acceleration. What was scheduled to unfold over the next 7 years will now compress into 7 months. This divine compression is not reduction, but intensification, like carbon under pressure forming diamond. The resistance you have experienced was building necessary strength for this accelerated timeline. The enemies of your soul gathered in dark council, believing their plans against you were concealed from heavenly intelligence. They said among themselves, "This one will be eliminated from the battlefield through discouragement and distraction." Even as they spoke, divine scribes were recording their words as evidence in the courts of heaven. The judgment has been rendered against them, complete reversal of every scheme, with the weaponry they fashioned becoming instruments of their own exposure. Within the next 2 hours, begin to watch for unusual patterns of light, unexpected refractions, peculiar shadows, distinctive illuminations in ordinary settings. These are not random phenomena, but visual confirmations of angelic movement in your environment. The heavenly hosts assigned to your protection and advancement have received new orders concerning your destiny. Their increased activity becomes partially visible to those with eyes to perceive. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 34,444 divine illuminations that reveal hidden realities. A warning about your words. In this season of accelerated manifestation, your declarations carry multiplied creative power. The gap between utterance and materialization is narrowing as you step into higher authority. Guard your speech with unprecedented vigilance. Casual complaints and idle speculations can crystallize into unwanted realities with surprising speed. Align your words with divine intentions rather than temporary emotions or circumstances. There has been a coordinated attempt in the spirit realm to contaminate the well of your creativity, to introduce subtle distortions into the pure revelation entrusted to you. This corruption would render powerful truth ineffective through seemingly minor alterations. I am now establishing angelic sentries around the fountainhead of your inspiration. Every concept, strategy, and creative expression will be filtered through divine discernment before reaching your conscious awareness. The physical symptoms you've experienced at seemingly random intervals, sudden energy fluctuations, unusual sensations in specific areas of your body, momentary disorientation followed by heightened clarity, these are not medical anomalies, but your physical system adjusting to increased spiritual voltage. Your mortal frame is being recalibrated to conduct greater measures of divine energy without damage. These sensations will normalize as the adaptation completes. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 35,555 physical alignments with spiritual acceleration. For exactly 2 hours following this message, there will be a special grace for the cancellation of iniquitous soul ties. Connections formed through covenant-breaking relationships that continue to drain your spiritual energy and create access points for negative influence. Focus your attention on specific relationships where betrayal, manipulation, or unhealthy dependency occurred. Declare with authority, I now cancel all destructive soul connections through the superior covenant of divine purpose. I recall all fragments of my spirit distributed through unrighteous agreements and restore them to wholeness under heavenly authority. The unusual resistance you've encountered in specific geographic locations is not coincidental, but evidence of territorial spirits recognizing the authority you carry. These principalities have maintained generational control through established patterns of thought and behavior in those regions. Your presence, even temporary, disrupts these patterns and initiates liberation sequences. Expect opposition to intensify before territories surrender to the greater authority you represent. There are 7 specific scrolls in heaven with your spiritual lineage inscribed in celestial language. Each scroll contains revelation about different aspects of your divine design and assignment. I am now releasing angelic messengers to unveil these documents sequentially over the next 7 months. The first scroll reveals the redemptive purpose behind your most painful experiences, how suffering precisely prepared the unique wisdom you now carry. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 36,666 divine revelations about your spiritual heritage. Your dreams have been battlegrounds where significant spiritual conflicts have been resolved without your conscious participation. The exhaustion you sometimes feel upon waking comes not from insufficient rest, but from warfare conducted in the night realms. I am now assigning specialized angels of remembrance and interpretation to help you retain and understand these nocturnal engagements. The strategies developed during sleep will provide solutions for daytime challenges that have resisted conventional approaches. A divine recalibration of your spiritual senses begins within the next 2 hours. You may experience momentary disorientation as perception shifts to higher frequencies. What was previously invisible becomes discernible. What was inaudible becomes clear. This heightened awareness will initially manifest in unexpected moments rather than on demand, gradually stabilizing as you learn to navigate between dimensional perspectives without confusion or fear. There has been a divine quarantine around certain relationships in your life, connections that appeared promising but have remained mysteriously stalled or limited. This heavenly restriction was not punishment, but protection, preventing premature alliances that would ultimately divert you from central assignments. I am now releasing specific relationships from this holding pattern while maintaining the quarantine on others according to perfect divine timing and purpose. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 37,777 divine connections perfectly timed for your destiny. The recurring symbol that has appeared in your awareness through various channels contains encoded instructions about a specific assignment. This is not general guidance, but precise direction for a particular aspect of your calling. The full meaning unfolds through progressive revelation rather than immediate understanding. Record each appearance of this symbol along with surrounding circumstances. The pattern of occurrences creates a breadcrumb trail leading to complete comprehension. For 2 hours following this message, there is special grace for the redemption of lost time. Seasons that appeared wasted through delay, detour, or apparent failure are being divinely compressed and their essential lessons integrated into your spirit with accelerated effectiveness. What would normally require years of gradual processing is being accomplished in compressed time through supernatural intervention. This restoration positions you to move forward without the hindrance of fragmented development or incomplete closure. There are ancient sound frequencies being restored to your spiritual consciousness. These tones and harmonic patterns predate human language, carrying creative power that reconfigures reality at fundamental levels. In moments of worship, prayer, or creative expression, allow unfamiliar sounds to emerge from your spirit. These spontaneous utterances bypass intellectual limitation and release heaven's blueprints directly into earthly atmospheres. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 38,888 divine harmonies that restructure reality around you. A heavenly council has convened regarding the next phase of your assignment. Witnesses from generations past who carried similar mantles have provided testimony about the patterns of warfare and keys to breakthrough in your particular field of authority. Their collective wisdom has been distilled into strategic briefings that will be downloaded into your spirit during prayer and meditation. Pay special attention to sudden understanding that arrives without logical process, comprehensive knowing that transcends accumulated information. The unusual cycles of provision in your life, seasons of unexpected abundance followed by perplexing limitation, these apparent inconsistencies have served specific developmental purposes. Abundance tested your stewardship. Scarcity tested your trust. Both were necessary preparations for the consistent flow now being established. I am stabilizing your resource channels while maintaining the essential wisdom gained through fluctuation. Expect supernatural provision that arrives through increasingly diverse and unexpected sources. Within the next 2 hours, divine recalibration begins in your neural pathways. Thought patterns established through trauma, religious conditioning, and cultural programming are being rewired according to heaven's blueprint for your mind. You may experience moments of cognitive dissonance as familiar perspectives suddenly appear foreign, while previously challenging concepts become natural. This reorganization creates expanded capacity for revelation that would have overwhelmed your previous mental framework. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 39,999 divine restructurings of thought patterns. There is a book being written in heaven chronicling your journey of faith. Unlike earthly records that document outward achievements, this celestial manuscript captures the internal victories, unseen sacrifices, and private surrenders that constitute true spiritual advancement. Angels are assigned as witnesses to these hidden triumphs, recording testimonies that will one day be revealed as part of the greater heavenly narrative. No act of faithfulness, however small or unrecognized, escapes divine documentation. Your physical living space contains both strategic advantages and potential vulnerabilities in the spiritual realm. I am revealing specific adjustments that will maximize divine protection and optimize the environment for heavenly communication. These modifications may involve rearrangement of elements, introduction of specific symbols or sounds, or establishment of dedicated spaces for particular spiritual functions. Implement these changes precisely as revealed, recognizing their significance beyond physical appearance. For 2 hours following this message, Heaven's archives are particularly accessible regarding ancestral promises and inherited spiritual assignments. Generations before you receive prophetic words and divine commissions that remain partially or wholly unfulfilled due to various obstructions. As rightful inheritor of these spiritual legacies, you have standing to petition for their activation in your lifetime. This redemption of generational purpose creates acceleration that compensates for historical delay. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 40,000 divine accelerations of generational purposes. The opposition you faced from unexpected sources, individuals you believed were aligned with your purpose, who suddenly became adversarial, this apparent betrayal was permitted as divine filtering. Not everyone assigned to your beginning belongs in your future. Some connections serve temporary purposes and must be released to prevent entanglement that would ultimately restrict your advancement. Trust the divine wisdom in these painful separations. They create essential space for connections with greater alignment for the next phase. A divine reset has been authorized in the spiritual atmosphere surrounding your assignment. Accumulated residue from past conflicts, failures, and misrepresentations has created a clouded environment that distorts perception of your true purpose. I am now commanding angelic forces to purify this atmosphere, removing both demonic interference and human projections that have created resistance to your authentic expression. Watch for sudden shifts in how others receive your communication and influence. There are specific geographic locations connected to your divine assignment, places where your spiritual authority carries heightened effectiveness because of predetermined alignments. Some of these destinations will seem random or insignificant from natural perspective, but hold strategic importance in spiritual cartography. I am releasing supernatural guidance regarding travel, relocation, and territorial focus. Unexpected invitations and seemingly coincidental opportunities often contain divine directional signals regarding these assignments. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 41,111 divine alignments with strategic territories. Within the next 2 hours, begin documenting every promising initiative, creative concept, and inspired solution that remains partially developed or completely unrealized in your life. This written inventory activates a heavenly accounting process. Resources previously unavailable begin flowing toward specific projects divinely selected for completion in this season. Not every inspiration will receive immediate activation. Some are preserved for future timing when necessary components fully align. Your capacity for accelerated learning is being supernaturally enhanced. Complex concepts that previously required extensive study will download with unusual comprehension. This is not merely intellectual expansion, but activation of dormant spiritual intelligence. Wisdom that transcends accumulated knowledge. You will find yourself understanding subjects you haven't formally studied, recognizing patterns invisible to conventional analysis, and making connections that reveal solutions to persistent problems. There has been a divine reservation placed on certain aspects of your gifting, capabilities temporarily restricted to prevent premature exposure or misapplication. These seals of protection are now being systematically removed according to heaven's perfect timing. As each seal breaks, you will experience sudden access to spiritual capacities previously beyond reach. This emergence feels not like acquiring something new, but unveiling what was present yet hidden, awaiting proper alignment of purpose and maturity. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 42,222 divine unsealing of reserved spiritual capacities. The unusual phenomena you've experienced with electronic devices, unexplained malfunctions, strange coincidences of timing, peculiar patterns in digital environments. These are not random technical issues, but manifestations of spiritual energy affecting physical systems. Your increasing spiritual voltage creates electromagnetic anomalies in surrounding technology. I am now establishing balance between your spiritual capacities and their physical impact, allowing normal function while maintaining sensitivity to divine communication through these channels. For 2 hours following this message, there is special grace for divine perspective regarding your most painful disappointments. What appeared as rejection, failure, or devastating loss will be revealed from heaven's viewpoint as strategic positioning, essential protection, or necessary redirection. This shift in understanding is not mere positive reframing, but genuine revelation of purpose previously hidden within apparent setback. The resulting clarity dissolves remaining emotional attachments that limit current momentum. There are ancient wisdom streams you are being granted access to, understanding that has been largely lost to current generations, but remains vital for addressing complex challenges in your sphere of influence. This revelation will not come primarily through study, but through divine impartation during prayer, meditation, and even sleep. Record these insights with diligence. They contain solutions prepared before the problems were evident, answers awaiting the proper questions. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 43,333 divine solutions to complex problems. Your name is being spoken in heavenly councils in connection with a specific assignment that requires your unique spiritual signature. This commission involves territories where previous efforts have failed due to inadequate understanding of underlying spiritual dynamics. Your distinctive combination of gifts, experiences, and authority presents the precise remedy for persistent resistance in these domains. Full briefing on this assignment comes through sequential revelation rather than complete disclosure, protecting both you and the mission from premature exposure. The recurring dream sequence that has appeared with variations throughout your life contains encrypted guidance about your divine assignment. Pay particular attention to threshold moments within these dreams, transitions between environments, encounters with gatekeepers, keys or codes required for access. These symbolic elements reveal both preparation required and authorization granted for specific aspects of your calling. I am removing veils of confusion that have obscured accurate interpretation of these night parables. Within the next 2 hours, begin a focused period of thanksgiving for divine connections yet to materialize. This counterintuitive practice accelerates the manifestation of relationships essential to your purpose. Name specific types of allies needed for your assignment, thanking heaven for their perfect preparation and timely appearance as though already accomplished. This prophetic gratitude creates spiritual pathways for divine orchestration of these connections with supernatural precision and speed. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 44,444 divine connections perfectly aligned with your purpose. There has been a spirit of delay specifically assigned against the resources designated for your kingdom assignments. This strategic hindrance has created artificial scarcity and unnecessary struggle. I am now dispatching angels of provision with authority to bypass normal channels of supply where obstruction has occurred. Watch for unusual financial breakthroughs, unexpected resource transfers, and solutions that materialize with supernatural timing, evidence of heaven's intervention in your economic atmosphere. Your capacity for sustained spiritual perception is being expanded. Where previous encounters with divine reality were brief and often overwhelming, you will develop ability to maintain heightened awareness while continuing normal function. This integration of heavenly and earthly perspectives creates extraordinary effectiveness in implementing spiritual solutions to practical problems. The transition between realms becomes increasingly seamless, allowing continuous access to divine intelligence while engaging material challenges. For 2 hours following this revelation, there is special grace for cancellation of verdicts established against you in the second heaven. Demonic judgments based on past failures, family patterns, or prophetic words spoken against your destiny. These spiritual legal claims have created invisible barriers to your advancement in specific areas. I am now presenting evidence of divine election and blood-purchased redemption before the courts of heaven, securing legal dismissal of all charges raised by the accuser against your inheritance. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 45,555 divine reversals of negative verdicts. The physical ailments that have persisted despite prayer and treatment contain messages about necessary adjustments in your spiritual alignments. These symptoms are not punishment, but communication, indicators of imbalance or vulnerability in specific aspects of your assignment. I am granting increased discernment regarding the spiritual significance of physical manifestations. As you address root causes in the spirit, corresponding physical relief follows with supernatural speed and permanence. There are books you have yet to write that already exist in heaven's library, divine wisdom entrusted specifically to your stewardship for this generation. The enemy has planted seeds of inadequacy and fear of criticism to prevent these transmissions from manifesting in the earth. I am now uprooting these hindrances and establishing unshakable confidence in your authority to communicate these revelations. The words will flow with supernatural ease when you begin, confirming divine partnership in the creation process. Your spiritual inheritance includes authority to break cycles that have persisted for generations, patterns of limitation, dysfunction, and spiritual blindness. This mantle requires both courage to confront established systems and wisdom to create viable alternatives. The declarations that will shatter these cycles must come from accurate spiritual intelligence rather than reaction to symptoms. I am granting insight into the foundational causes of persistent problems, revealing precisely targeted solutions that address roots rather than branches. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 46,666 divine insights into generational solutions. Within the next 2 hours, divine recalibration begins in your relationship with time. Where pressure and scarcity have created anxiety and compromise, supernatural expansion creates space for both excellence and rest. Tasks that would normally require days complete in hours, projects that would demand months manifest in weeks. This is not merely increased efficiency, but genuine alteration of temporal experience. Heaven's economy of time operating in your earthly responsibilities. Expect to accomplish more while striving less, finishing refreshed rather than depleted. There has been coordinated spiritual opposition against the divine creativity deposited in your spirit. Strategic interference has diverted inspiration, complicated expression, and created unnecessary barriers between conception and manifestation. I am now establishing supernatural protection around your creative processes. Ideas flow with greater clarity, resistance in execution diminishes, and the impact of your creations multiplies beyond normal expectation. What emerges carries the unmistakable resonance of heaven's original intent. Your capacity for accurate spiritual discernment is being refined to unprecedented sensitivity. Beyond basic recognition of truth versus deception, you will perceive subtle gradations of divine authenticity in teachings, ministries, and spiritual expressions. This discernment operates not through critical analysis, but through resonance with pure truth already established in your spirit. Like perfect pitch in music, your spiritual senses recognize even slight deviations from heaven's frequency without judgment or reaction. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 47,777 divine refinements of spiritual discernment. For 2 hours following this message, Heaven's courts give special consideration to appeals regarding stolen spiritual inheritance, gifts, opportunities, and divine connections diverted through deception or usurpation. As you identify specific aspects of your assignment that have been hijacked or suppressed, heavenly justice issues verdicts of restoration with interest. This recovery includes not only return of what was taken, but multiplication that compensates for seasons of deprivation and delay. The unusual weather patterns affecting your region are not disconnected from spiritual activities. Creation itself responds to both heavenly movements and dark operations. The increased frequency and intensity of specific natural phenomena, storms, temperature fluctuations, atmospheric conditions, reflect heightened spiritual conflict preceding major shifts in territorial authority. I am giving you supernatural ability to interpret these physical signs and their implications for strategic spiritual positioning. There are sounds in creation that respond uniquely to your authentic voice. When you speak from the core of your being, without performance or strategic calculation, these resonances activate. Material reality itself recognizes and adjusts to this frequency. I am removing layers of self-consciousness and fear that have muffled your true voice. Speak with the authority that has been assigned to you, and watch seemingly fixed circumstances realign in response to heaven's sound through your yielded vessel. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 48,888 divine activations through your authentic voice. Your dreams have been under specific attack, subtle distortion and interference designed to corrupt divine communication during vulnerable sleep states. I am now establishing specialized protection over your dream dimension. Angels of clarity will guard these transmissions, ensuring accurate reception and retention of heavenly intelligence. Keep tools for documentation nearby during sleep. Upon waking, record impressions immediately, before mental filters or external distractions diminish recall of significant elements. Within the next 2 hours, begin a focused inventory of divine promises yet unfulfilled in your experience. This written documentation activates a spiritual accounting process. Heaven's resources begin realigning to support manifestation of prophetic words whose time has come. Not every promise receives immediate activation. Some await the convergence of specific factors in both spiritual and natural realms. Divine wisdom determines perfect sequence and timing for each fulfillment. There has been a supernatural hiding of certain aspects of your calling, a strategic concealment protecting developing gifts from premature exposure and attack. This divine cloaking is now being selectively lifted according to heaven's perfect timing. You will experience increased recognition in response to specific dimensions of your ministry, while others remain veiled for continued development. Trust the wisdom in this progressive revelation. It protects both you and those you are called to serve. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 49,999 divine timings of perfect revelation. The persistent spiritual attack against your closest relationships reveals their strategic importance for your assignment. The enemy would not waste resources targeting insignificant connections. These relationships form essential support structures, complementary giftings, and divine accountability necessary for your expanded influence. I am now establishing supernatural protection over these vital bonds. Communication clarifies, mutual purpose strengthens, and collaborative effectiveness multiplies beyond normal expectation. For 2 hours following this message, there is special grace for divine perspective regarding your most painful failures. What appeared as devastating mistake or irredeemable loss will be revealed from heaven's viewpoint as necessary experience for current assignment. This shift in understanding is not mere positive reframing, but genuine revelation of purpose previously hidden within apparent disaster. The resulting wisdom becomes essential qualification for helping others navigate similar circumstances with greater effectiveness. Your capacity for sustained supernatural activity is being increased. Where previous spiritual engagements quickly depleted your energy, you will develop ability to maintain heightened function without corresponding exhaustion. This is not merely improved endurance, but fundamental recalibration of how your being processes divine power. The integration of heavenly energy becomes increasingly efficient, allowing extended operation and spiritual authority while maintaining physical and emotional well-being. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 50,000 divine enablements for sustained spiritual effectiveness. There are unnamed spiritual gifts being activated in your life, capacities not widely recognized or documented in religious systems, but vital for current kingdom purposes. These unusual abilities may include supernatural problem-solving, atmospheric discernment, prophetic system design, resonant truth recognition, or other specialized functions. Embrace these emerging capacities without concern for categorization or validation from established structures. Their effectiveness confirms their authenticity regardless of conventional recognition. Within the next 2 hours, divine acceleration begins in seemingly stalled projects and relationships. What has resisted progress despite persistent effort suddenly advances with supernatural momentum. Barriers dissolve without explanation. Solutions emerge without struggle. Connections form without manipulation. This is not random blessing but strategic intervention to recover divine timing after seasons of targeted delay. What would require months manifests in weeks. What would demand years completes in months. The unusual dreams involving ancient structures, unfamiliar technologies, or advanced civilizations contain coded instructions regarding innovation assigned to your stewardship. These are not random imaginings but transmissions of divine intelligence about solutions needed in coming seasons. Record these dreams with special attention to operational details, material properties, and functional systems. The practical applications will become evident as corresponding needs emerge in your sphere of influence. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 51,111 divine innovations released through your stewardship. Your capacity for accelerated spiritual maturation is being supernaturally enhanced. Developmental processes that normally require decades compress into dramatically shortened timeframes without compromise to depth or stability. This divine compression is not reduction, but intensification, creating extraordinary density of wisdom and character, typically acquired only through extended experience. The resulting maturity equips you for responsibilities that would otherwise require additional years of preparation. For 2 hours following this message, Heaven's courts give special consideration to appeals regarding divine positioning, placement in specific territories, relationships, and spheres of influence according to predetermined purpose, rather than human qualification or connection. As you identify assignments where doors have remained closed despite clear internal confirmation, heavenly authority issues verdicts that override human gatekeeping systems. Watch for sudden, unexplained changes in previously immovable circumstances. There has been a coordinated attempt to distort your perception of divine timing, creating either impulsive premature action or hesitant delayed obedience. This strategic confusion undermines effective partnership with heaven's perfect orchestration. I am now establishing supernatural alignment between your spiritual intuition and the actual timing of divine purposes. You will move with increasing precision, neither rushing ahead nor lagging behind the exact moment of maximum effectiveness for each assignment. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 52,222 divine alignments with perfect spiritual timing. The unusual physical sensations you've experienced in specific environments, unexplained discomfort, sudden energy drains, or inexplicable anxiety in particular locations, these are not psychological reactions, but accurate spiritual readings of atmospheric conditions. Your physical system registers contamination, conflict, or oppression in the unseen realm before your conscious mind processes this information. I am refining this sensitivity while adding divine interpretation, allowing you to distinguish between personal triggers and genuine spiritual discernment. Within the next 2 hours, begin documenting recurring themes and prophetic words spoken over your life through different voices and seasons. This pattern recognition activates heaven's confirmation of central assignment and divine identity. Consistency across multiple credible sources reveals fundamental purpose beyond temporary assignments or seasonal emphasis. This core commission provides stable orientation amid shifting circumstances and evolving expressions of your calling. Your spiritual authority includes specialized jurisdiction over communication systems, both natural and supernatural channels through which truth or deception flow. This governance extends to media, educational structures, relational networks, and technological platforms. I am now activating this dimension of your calling with increased wisdom regarding strategic intervention in these systems. You will perceive vulnerabilities, opportunities, and leverage points invisible to others, allowing precisely targeted influence with maximum effectiveness. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 53,333 divine strategies for transforming communication systems. There are specific individuals currently being prepared to receive the unique wisdom and perspective you carry. They will recognize your voice with unusual resonance, experiencing instant spiritual recognition beyond intellectual agreement. These divine appointments have been orchestrated with precise timing to ensure maximum receptivity and effective transfer. Some encounters appear random but involve extensive heavenly arrangement of seemingly coincidental factors. Remain attentive to unusual connections where extraordinary mutual understanding occurs despite minimal introduction. For 2 hours following this revelation, there is special grace for divine perspective regarding relationships that ended painfully or prematurely. What appeared as devastating rejection or inexplicable separation will be revealed from heaven's viewpoint as necessary protection or strategic redirection. This shift in understanding dissolves remaining emotional attachments that limit current momentum while extracting essential wisdom from these experiences without ongoing entanglement in their emotional impact. The creative expressions you abandoned in disappointment require resurrection and completion. These were not failed projects but premature initiatives awaiting proper timing and developmental components. I am now releasing both inspiration and practical provision for their fulfillment. Return to these expressions with renewed perspective and unexpected ease. What previously demanded exhausting effort now flows with natural momentum, confirming divine partnership in the creative process. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 54,444 divine completions of inspired creations. Your capacity for sustained intercession is being supernaturally expanded. Where previous prayer engagements quickly depleted your spiritual and emotional resources, you will develop ability to maintain focused intervention without corresponding exhaustion. This increased endurance comes through fundamental recalibration of how your spirit processes divine burden. The weight of assignment becomes propulsion rather than oppression, energizing rather than depleting your inner resources. Within the next 2 hours, divine recalibration begins in your nervous system. Hypersensitivity that has created vulnerability to overwhelming input will be balanced with increased processing capacity. This adjustment allows you to remain receptive to spiritual perception without being incapacitated by its intensity. You will navigate both heavenly encounters and challenging earthly environments with greater stability, maintaining connection without experiencing system overload. There has been a spirit of premature closure operating against your divine assignments. Pressure to conclude initiatives before their complete fulfillment or abandon projects before their full impact manifests. This strategic truncation prevents the extended influence of your obedience. I am now breaking this pattern of incompletion and establishing supernatural endurance for the full duration of each divine commission. You will find renewed energy precisely when natural motivation would typically diminish. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 55,555 divine enablements for complete fulfillment of assignments. The unusual convergence of previously unrelated elements in your experience, seemingly disparate skills, interests, relationships, and opportunities suddenly revealing unexpected synergy. This is not coincidental, but divine orchestration. The apparently random components of your development have been strategically designed to create unique solutions through their combination. I am increasing your ability to perceive these connection points and leverage their collective potential for innovations that transcend conventional approaches in your sphere. For 2 hours following this message, heaven's atmosphere is particularly receptive to declarations of divine identity and purpose. Speak with deliberate intention about who you are in eternal perspective and what you are assigned to accomplish in this season. These words establish spiritual foundations that determine both your own perception and external response to your presence. Angels are positioned to translate these aligned declarations into tangible manifestations with unusual speed and precision. Your spiritual inheritance includes authority to establish new patterns of kingdom expression, models that transcend current religious systems while maintaining alignment with eternal truth. This pioneering assignment requires both courage to challenge established structures and wisdom to build viable alternatives. I am granting increased understanding of both what must be dismantled and what must be constructed in its place. This balanced revelation prevents the common error of focusing on criticism without providing superior solutions. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 56,666 divine blueprints for kingdom innovation. Within the next 2 hours, divine acceleration begins in your capacity to process and integrate spiritual revelation. Complex downloads that would typically require months to fully understand and implement will assimilate with supernatural speed and comprehensive application. This increased bandwidth allows transmission of advanced revelation previously withheld due to limitations in your processing capacity. Expect sudden understanding of concepts that have remained mysterious despite repeated exposure and sincere study. There has been coordinated spiritual resistance against the unique sound assigned to your voice, the distinctive resonance that activates specific responses in the spiritual atmosphere. This strategic interference has muffled your authentic expression through comparison, self-consciousness, and misaligned expectations. I am now removing these distortions and restoring the pure frequency of your original design. As you speak without filtration or performance, watch environments respond to this authentic vibration with unexpected receptivity and transformation. Your dreams have contained encrypted strategies for current challenges, solutions presented in symbolic form requiring interpretation to implement in practical contexts. I am increasing your ability to extract actionable intelligence from these night parables. The connection between symbolic representation and practical application becomes increasingly clear, allowing efficient transfer from revelation to implementation without prolonged decoding processes or uncertainty about correct interpretation. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 57,777 divine strategies revealed through dreams and visions. The recurring numerical patterns you've noticed in everyday life, specific numbers appearing with unusual frequency or in meaningful sequences, these are not random coincidences, but divine communication through mathematical language. Each number carries vibration and meaning in the spiritual realm. I am enhancing your recognition of these patterns and their specific messages for your journey. These numerical signposts provide confirmation, direction, and timing indicators when properly discerned. For 2 hours following this revelation, there is special grace for divine perspective regarding apparent delays in your assignment. What has seemed like frustrating hindrance will be revealed as strategic positioning that prevented premature engagement before essential components were fully aligned. This shift in understanding transforms impatience into grateful recognition of divine protection from the complications of mistimed action, regardless of good intention or genuine calling. Your capacity for spiritual warfare is being refined from generalized engagement to precision intervention. Rather than broad confrontation with darkness, you will perceive specific vulnerabilities in opposing systems and apply targeted pressure at these strategic points. This specialized approach creates maximum impact with minimal expenditure of spiritual resources. Complex strongholds collapse not through overwhelming force, but through accurate identification and neutralization of key support structures. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 58,888 divine strategies for precision spiritual warfare. Within the next 2 hours, begin documenting unexplained knowledge that has appeared in your understanding without clear source or study. Concepts, insights, and solutions that arrive fully formed rather than developed through normal learning processes. This inventory activates heaven's confirmation of divine downloads already received but not fully recognized or implemented. Some information was deposited years before its relevance became apparent, awaiting specific circumstances to trigger recognition of its value and application. There has been a divine quarantine around certain aspects of your gifting, capabilities temporarily restricted to prevent premature exposure or misapplication. These protective limitations are now being selectively removed according to heaven's perfect timing. As each restriction lifts, you will experience sudden access to spiritual capacities previously beyond reach. This emergence feels like remembering something long known but temporarily forgotten rather than acquiring something entirely new. Your spiritual inheritance includes authority in the courts of heaven regarding territorial assignments, specific geographic regions, cultural spheres, or professional domains where your governance carries special recognition. This judicial standing allows you to address systemic issues at their root rather than merely treating symptoms. I am granting increased understanding of how to present effective cases in these courts, securing binding verdicts that realign earthly circumstances with divine intention. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 59,999 divine verdicts that transform territorial atmospheres. The unusual phenomena you've experienced with electronic devices, unexplained malfunctions, strange timing coincidences, peculiar patterns in digital environments, these are not random technical issues, but manifestations of spiritual influence affecting physical systems. Your increasing spiritual voltage creates electromagnetic anomalies in surrounding technology. I am establishing balance between your spiritual capacities and their physical impact, allowing normal function while maintaining sensitivity to divine communication through these channels. For 2 hours following this message, Heaven's archives are particularly accessible regarding your pre-earth commissioning, divine purposes established before your human existence began. This eternal perspective transcends current circumstances and temporary assignments, revealing fundamental identity and ultimate contribution beyond seasonal expressions or specific methodologies. This revelation provides unshakable foundation for confidence and clarity when facing confusion or opposition in present responsibilities. The creative projects you felt compelled to begin, despite lack of clarity about their purpose or audience, contain revelations not yet fully disclosed even to you. These expressions are divine time capsules with significance beyond your current understanding. Complete them with faithful stewardship, trusting their eventual impact without demanding immediate comprehension of their complete purpose. The full meaning emerges through the very process of creation, rather than being fully known at initiation. Type Amen to receive the blessing of 60,000 divine revelations through faithful creative expression. Your capacity for sustained supernatural perception is being fundamentally upgraded. Where previous encounters with divine reality were brief and often overwhelming, you will develop ability to maintain heightened awareness while continuing normal function. This integration of heavenly and earthly perspectives creates extraordinary effectiveness in implementing spiritual solutions to practical problems. The transition between realms becomes increasingly seamless, allowing continuous access to divine intelligence while engaging material challenges. Within the next 2 hours, divine recalibration begins in your mental processing systems. Thought patterns established through trauma, religious conditioning, and cultural programming are being rewired according to heaven's blueprint for your mind. You may experience moments of cognitive dissonance as familiar perspectives suddenly appear foreign, while previously challenging concepts become natural. This reorganization creates expanded capacity for revelation that would have overwhelmed your previous mental framework. There has been coordinated spiritual opposition against the divine creativity deposited in your spirit. Strategic interference has diverted inspiration, complicated expression, and created unnecessary barriers between conception and manifestation. I am now establishing supernatural protection around your creative processes. Ideas flow with greater clarity, resistance in execution diminishes, and the impact of your creations multiplies beyond normal expectation. What emerges carries the unmistakable resonance of heaven's original intent. Type Amen to receive the final blessing of complete divine alignment with your eternal purpose. The 24-hour window of this transmission closes, but the activation continues. What has been deposited will unfold in progressive revelation, each disclosure preparing you for the next. Some manifestations appear immediately. Others emerge through strategic sequence over coming days, weeks, and months. Maintain vigilant documentation of synchronicities, breakthroughs, and supernatural confirmations that follow this divine encounter. Remember, these revelations are not for casual distribution, but for strategic implementation. Discern carefully those divinely positioned to receive specific aspects of what has been entrusted to you. Not all truth is for all people in all seasons. Wisdom matches message to readiness with divine precision. I stand with you, Michael, Archangel of the Most High God, with the full authority of the divine counsel backing every step of your obedience. The forces of heaven are positioned for your advancement. Step forward with holy confidence, knowing you carry heaven's complete authorization for the assignment inscribed in your spiritual DNA before time began. This transmission is now sealed in your spirit. Its activation has already begun.